This conference will now be recorded.
Hello all, welcome back for another session on performance testing using NeoLoad. So let's have a quick recap on what we had done in the previous session. So we learned some of the performance basics. So let's go through some of them. So we looked at on the workflow, right? What is a workflow? Workflow is just a series of user actions. Okay, user action means as an end user, whatever the action that is being performed on the browser on any application, web application, is the user action. Okay, we looked at one example, that is launching Wikipedia and then searching this keyword testing and then clicking on the link. In this workflow, there are three user actions. Okay, and from performance perspective, we are going to call this user action as a transaction. Transaction is the keyword used in performance testing. Okay, so from now on, we are just going to call this as a transaction, okay, not as a user action. Okay, and from transaction perspective, it is a group of requests that belongs to one user action. Okay, it could be launch, it could be click on some link, or it could be searching something. So there are different options. We looked at this client server architecture. It's a very simple architecture. There is a client and the server. Client sends a request, server responds to the client, and the entire performance testing is all about the request and the response. So how quickly the client is going to receive a response from the server is what the benchmarking. Okay, so if I get the response within 3 seconds, it's probably under with the performance standard. Since we said it's all about the request and response, let's look at the components of a request and the components of a response. So look, request component, these are the four components: http method, application url, headers, and body. In this, the first three are mandatory. Without this, http method, url, and headers, the request is incomplete. And body is optional. Usually parameters gets passed along with the body. Let's look at response components. Response code, headers, and body. And here also at times body could be optional. We looked at response code extensively. We have also seen some practical demonstration on this as well. Okay, so response code can also be called as status code. Okay, these codes are issued by the server, okay, along with the response. So there are different meaning associated with this. So 100 series means it's informational, 200 series is successful, 300 series is a redirection, 400 series is a client side error, and 500 is a server side error. So we have so far just uh, looked at what is a workflow. Now let's learn about a different types of workflow. Okay, so workflow types. Okay, generally workflow types can be categorized into two types. Okay, so one is unauthenticated. Okay, that means the user is not identified by the server. Another one is an authenticated one, which is the user is identified by the server. So Naveen, what this means, right? What does it authenticated or unauthenticated means? Okay, So let's look at an example. Okay, so I'm just going to this e-commerce website. Okay, so if we see any e-commerce website, okay, the 99% of the traffic is going to come in from the unauthenticated users. Okay, see, for example, as an end user, I have launched this Amazon application. Okay, I can go ahead and browse, and I can just click on something, and you get it right. I can just go on endlessly, look at products, and what is available for sale. uh, Most likely, especially if some sale is going on, right? So let's say there is a Black Friday sale, or um, maybe in India it is the Diwali sale, or some kind of sales, right? During those times, if you see, 99% of the traffic is just going to come in from the window shoppers, who is just simply looking at the products, or it's simply browsing, right? They don't have any intention to buy. But in case if something, uh, let's say, like maybe some, let's say I want to buy a book, and that is on offer, and somehow i I got reminded, and I can go ahead and then purchase it. But majority of the cases, nobody has an intention to buy anything. Okay, in those circumstance, right, nobody will directly go to this website and then log in, right? I think this is prevalent with everybody's case as well. Okay, so until I make the login, okay, so most of these transactions are just unauthenticated transactions. Okay, that is, the user is not identified. It could be the user, or we can also call this in other words, um, unauthenticated means there is no dynamic values to be to handle it. Okay, it's in a technical term, that's how we have to put it. Okay, so authenticated means there could be some dynamic values that we would need to handle. Okay, so where exactly these dynamic values appears, right? Most likely if we are doing any login transaction or any other critical transactions, okay, the dynamic values are prevalent. So when I say dynamic values, it could be of different tokens, authentication tokens, like there is a authorization tokens, right? So it could be bearer token, CSRF token, XSRF tokens. There are many types of tokens, and there is also dynamic values, but there are static in nature, like client IDs, client secret, and maybe few other uh, values or dynamic values. Okay, fine. So this is the distinct difference between the unauthenticated workflow and authenticated workflow. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, before we move on to scripting best practice, so far we have recorded one script. Okay, so in this script, if we see, it's clearly it's an unauthenticated workflow, right? It is launching. So the workflow goes like this: launch the application, click on fish, click on angelfish, click on an item, and then come back to home page. So absolutely there are no uh, login transactions. Okay, so let me uh, just show what it is. Okay, so launching this application, click on fish, on angelfish, and then click on some item, and then coming back to home page. This is the workflow that is being recorded here. So let's do another recording for a authenticated workflow. Just uh, to identify this, I'm going to change this name as to unauth jpeg. Okay, so let's record an authenticated workflow. So I'm going to change this as auth jpeg. Okay, I'm going to use Internet Explorer as a client to record this. Okay, I'll just click on. So before we go to it, so let's go ahead and then try sign in. So I'm previously I had created this user. Okay, so invalid username, it is not working. This user got deleted. So let's register a new user. Okay, so I'm just providing something like this jpet user. Okay, I'm going to provide user id, password, both are same. Okay, so I'm just giving some random information. Okay, here phone number, city, something like this. Okay, and then just going to save this account number. Okay, so now let me try it user. Okay, this has logged in to this account. I can see sign out. Okay, fine. So let's proceed. So I'm going to make an order. Okay, so what I'm going to do is after logging in, I'll go to fish, to angelfish, and then select on this item, add to cart, proceed to checkout. I'll retain the same information, click on continue, then click on confirm. So after uh, following all these steps, thank you, your order has been submitted. There is this information. Okay, and then coming back to home page, then probably sign out. Okay, so let me proceed. So this is a auth uh, jpeg. Okay, okay, now Internet Explorer instance has launched. I'll use the recording bar to feed in the transactions. So launch, hit store. So click sign in. So here, click login. Okay, so going through the same steps, I have logged in. Click on fish, click angelfish, click item, add to cart. out, proceed to checkout, click on continue, then finally. So this will create an order. Okay, so everything is being recorded now. Then come back to home page. Then click on stop button. Okay, so this is the post recording wizard. Okay, so so as we have seen earlier, okay, whenever we completed whenever we do a recording, or I think we haven't seen it yet. Okay, fine. So once we get this post recording wizard, we have to uncheck the hosts that are not um, in the performance testing objective. As far as this application is concerned, only this is required. This is some weather .microsoft.com, which is not relevant to this objective. Okay, so I'm going to uncheck this. Like this, whenever we work with real-time applications, we will be seeing a lot of there could be Google APIs, GVTs, uh, something like this, weather tiles, social media handles. All of these links gets populated here. So we have to uh, uncheck that is not required. At times it is also happens that even another different application as a part of this pet store, or the application that we are working on, that also could flow here. So it is best we uncheck that is not required. Okay, so I have unchecked this one, and then I'll click on next. Okay, so this step, it is recommended to skip this step. I will discuss about this step, so why we are skipping this step as we progress. Okay, but whenever we are making a first ever recording, okay, so as far as this workflow is concerned, this is the first recording. So whenever we do such first recording, it is um, highly recommended to skip this step. Okay, so I'm just skipping this one. Click on next, and then we can just go ahead and next, and then finish it. Probably I'm not sure if you have noticed. Okay, this authentication, this page, uh, uh, usually it will not come if there are no authentication. Okay, so in this case, unauth jpet, during this recording, this this page will not appear, but here it has appeared. That means there is some kind of authentication has happened, so we will explore that. Okay, I'll click on finish. So I'm just expanding this. Okay, so so we cannot really make a direct comparison between unauth jpet and auth jpet. Clearly there are some additional transactions here. Okay, one thing what we have to notice is we have to, okay, so how do we identify? So I'm just going to expand all. Okay, so let's go by a request by request to see if we are seeing any dynamic values. This is the first request. So I'm just so generally these css gifs, as I have highlighted earlier, we can this is not required as a part of performance testing. Okay, but in case if the application is resource intensive, we have seen some examples, I think one of the example is the any makeup related businesses like mac cosmetics or clinic or revlon, right? These uh, these applications are naturally resource intensive applications. Okay, in those applications, maybe based on the business requirement, we might have to enable, retain them, but generally, from the performance standards perspective, these should be disabled. This we will see. Okay, so what I wanted to show is, so I'm just going, all this non-html resources or embedded resources will not have uh, anything as a part of the parameters. Okay, okay, so here if we see this, right, there is a click login transaction. In this transaction, um, so username and password is the only data that we have provided uh, in the browser. Okay, but these two values, that is a source page and fp, right, uh, has automatically generated, right? So these could be, these are the dynamic values, and we have to handle these dynamic values. Okay, and of course the method to handle them is just called as correlation. This we will discuss. Okay, but the distinct difference between unauthenticated and authenticated workflows is, we will encounter such kind of transactions or such kind of requests which has dynamic values. Okay, that is the difference. Okay, fine, so let's continue. Okay, so there is a scripting best practice. So why we are discussing about this scripting best practice now is, there are few steps that is required to keep, to develop a high quality scripts. Okay, so let's look at it. Okay, so the first steps, okay, let's look at the benefits. Okay, so it helps in developing high quality scripts, it minimizes human errors, and it eliminates rework. Okay, eliminating rework is uh, is one of the biggest uh, I would say positive. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, Nine.
Oh, okay, okay,
Yes,
sorry.
you are.
There was some power surge, so I thought I got disconnected. Okay, anyway, let's continue. Fine. So in this best practice, there is one part which is the scripting phases. Okay, so let's look at it. Okay, so the first phase is baseline. Okay, so in this phase, we have to retain the original recording. Okay, without any autocorrelation or any enhancements applied on the script. Remember I was showing, we have to skip one step. Okay, in case if we just continued with that step, what it will do is it will go ahead and apply autocorrelation. Okay, we don't want that to happen with the first ever recording. We would like to retain the baseline as it is. Okay, this is the uh, uh, first step or first phase. The second phase is the development phase. Okay, in this phase what we have to do is, we have to duplicate the baseline and then do all the enhancements related activities on the development phase. Okay, so enhancements means the correlation, parameterization, validation, error handling, exception handling, everything goes into this phase. Then there is a third phase which is a ready for test phase. Okay, in this phase, uh, the script has been developed. Okay, all the enhancements, everything is completed, but still, due to certain reasons, we are waiting for test data or environment. Okay, test environment. Okay, and then there is a final phase which is an execution phase. Okay, um, so so everything is ready, we have developed, script development is done, test data, environment, everything is done, ready. and then we can just go ahead with the execution phase. Okay, so there are some phase steps, so let's look at it. So what we will start with this. Okay, disable the unwanted requests. So here unwanted requests could be maybe mistakenly we have included some other host as a part of the script. You have to disable them, disable the non-HTML resources or embedded resources. It's not required, and then duplicate the recorded script. Okay, that's the first script, and then suffix the user path with its scripting phase. So I'll show you what this means. Okay, so let's say this is the script that we have just recorded. Okay, so I'm just, what I have to do is, okay, let's call this as a, okay, this is a baseline. So I'm just expanding all. Okay, you have to disable the unwanted requests. Okay, so as far as this script is concerned, I'll select all this non-HTML resources, disabled it, and then there is one here, disable it, and I think that's all. So you have to do with this disabling, then duplicate this, and then change this uh, name to db1 or something like this. Okay, which indicates it's in the development phase. Okay, so all the enhancements will go into this phase, and let's say like all the enhancements is done, development is done. Okay, after that what do we have to do? We are not supposed to again duplicate this. Okay, we just have to promote this to RFT, is ready for test phase. Okay, so why we are doing this, why we are promoting, why we are having only one duplicate and then promoting the rest. Even this is the case with the execution also. So once the test data or environment is ready, again promote this from here. Okay, um, so let's so why we are doing it. So in case if let's say there are 10 different scripts that we have to develop, so there will be 10 baselines and uh, 10 other actual development and execution phases. Okay, so if we need to do 10 scripts, then there is going to be 20 scripts. If we try to duplicate for every phase, then there is going to be 4, then 40 scripts. It will be overwhelming for this project. The project becomes too heavy. Okay, and maybe NeoLoad might not be able to handle those many scripts, and then it starts crashing randomly due to poor memory management. Okay, so what we have to do, we have to record one baseline without autocorrelation or any other enhancements. Just disable the unwanted requests and then duplicate it. Okay, and then keep promoting this once we are cross with that phase. So Naveen, why do we have to go through all this trouble? Why not just stick to one script and then go ahead and then develop it, and then do this execution? So why do we need to do this in first place? Okay, so as I said, right, so as I'm, so let's say like I'm doing some enhancements activity, and then maybe I'm just here, and somehow I opened this, and then maybe I deleted some data, something like this, accidentally. Okay, this could happen, isn't it? Or maybe this entire request is gone. So I'm just simply purposely deleting it. Okay, this could be done, or maybe randomly something has moved, or some issue has happened with the script. Okay, so in this case, if we have the baseline, we can at least match it. If the data is missing, so let's say so here we are in login. Okay, I can copy this from here and then bring it here, paste it, and then somehow I can recover this. Okay, but if we don't have the baseline and just working on only one script that we have recorded, and maybe some mishap has happened over there, then what we have to do, we have to again re-record. So there it is a risk of rework. Maybe if it is only of 5 transaction, okay, like this, just 5 transaction, and it is easy to, let's say there are no dynamic values to handle, easy to work with, then okay, fine. But think about it, if there is a script that has 30 transactions, and let's say 200 dynamic values that needs to be handled, it becomes way too cumbersome to just work with it. A lot of time we have to reinvest in all this rework and get it done. Okay, so to avoid all these uh, issues, right? So we are just following this best practice. Okay, fine. Anyways, this uh, script is kind of rigged, so I'll just remove this, then probably I'll duplicate it. Okay, something like this. Okay, so let's continue the workflow best practice. Let's look at it. So first thing what we have to do is we have to identify the workflow type. Okay, as we have seen, whenever there is any login or any critical transactions happening, usually it is of authenticated workflow. Okay, most likely when there is no login or such thing is happening, then it could be of unauthenticated. Identify the user roles that are involved. Okay, so in one application there could be different types of user roles, right? So for example, there could be employee, there could be manager or admin. So different user roles will have different permissions and grants, where they can do certain user role based workflows, okay, that we will discuss. Okay, so identifying the user roles that are involved in that application is the another part in the workflow best practice. Then yes, identifying the user based workflow, this means so of course there are certain actions only admin can do, there are certain action only a manager can do, right? Then we have to from the performance perspective and from the functional perspective, you have to understand and identify this uh, user role based workflows, and that's all that is it is given here. Okay, so far any questions? Okay, I take that as a no. Let's continue. So let's look at one simple workflow analogy. Okay, so let's look at this. So uh, there is a an application which is a Procto. Okay, let me open this. So Procto, it is an aggregator platform. Okay. So this, what this platform does is, it is a platform which links between a doctor and a patient. That is all it does. Okay. So nowadays, if you see, there are a lot of businesses that thrives just on such aggregator platforms. Okay. So what is um, so can anybody think of any aggregator platform? So Procto is one of them. Anything that comes to your mind? How about Naukri?
Aggregated
Or
in the sense, what is that, Naveen?
so aggregator platform means a, a platform that bridges or that connects two different uh, entities. See, for example, one entity is a provider, another entity is a consumer. So in this case, at, the provider is the doctor and the consumer is the patient in this specific application. So there is one more example, which is a
Okay,
Company
Naveen.
Naukri
can be any
or job
insurance company.
portal. Sorry.
Any insurance company can be aggregator here because client is also there and the provider is also there.
Mm, Insurance is a business. Uh, so it can be an aggregator platform as well.
Mm-hmm.
But generally, if any insurance company, see, for example, if you take, I'm not sure any popular insurance in US, but there are some popular insurance in India, that is Life Insurance Corporation. If you take that, LIC itself is a business. Okay, they are running, they are selling insurance. That's it,
Mm-hmm.
to the customer. So it's the producer is
For a
themselves,
customer,
the business
the
themselves.
customer have to claim, they need to go to
Uh-huh.
the same website for the claim purpose, right?
Sorry, your voice was breaking. Sorry, I couldn't get it.
I mean that a claims for the claims, like I'm a user, and suppose
Uh,
the insurance is Geico. So if the Geico is a provider, then I'm a user, right? I have taken an insurance from Geico. I met with an accident. For the claim purpose, I need to go to the Geico website to fulfill all the information there and proceed my applications.
right, but Geico is the insurance that is selling the insurance. But here we are looking at a aggregator platform. So here Procto is not selling anything. Procto is just bridging between a doctor and a patient. So let's take any other job seeker platform. If you take any other like platform like Naukri or something like this, there, that Naukri platform is not selling anything, but it is just bridging the employer and employees, the one who is searching for a job and the one who is providing the job.
I got.
Okay, you got it right. So
Mhm.
there are like many examples. See, for example, Uber. So
Mhm.
what Uber does, Uber is not selling anything. Uber is just bridging the cabs and the one who wants to go for a ride, right? So the one who wants to avail the service, so it's like a producer and consumer. You got it right. So in a simple term, we can we can just consider this like a, so any aggregated platform is just going to bridge between a producer and the consumer. Okay. So like that, I mean, many businesses, uh, I mean, many unicorns has formed just based on this. There is Airbnb, uh,
Mhm.
Uber, there is Swiggy food delivery,
Mhm.
uh, or Zomato, and even in this Shadi.com or whatever this matrimony websites, right?
Mhm.
So it bridges between the bride and groom, the one who wants, who is searching for a bride and another one who is searching for a groom, right? So many such platforms. Okay. So they essentially these platform does not sell anything, unlike like insurance companies sells insurance. It is their own products, right? So that
Yeah.
is a different kind of business. Okay, but anyway, that's a thanks for the answer. But let's look at this platform, right? So now we know, right? So any aggregated platform, if we take, there is going to be a producer, another there is going to be a consumer. And uh, so now we know that here the producer is the doctor. So there is one user role which is a doctor, another user role which is a patient. Okay, a doctor is providing certain services, and a patient is going to avail some services from the doctor. So let's say I am the end user, but usually it is targeted for the patient is the end user. Okay, so let's say like so I have here it says like based on this application it says I'm located in Chandigarh, and maybe I want to find some dentist, okay, at this location. So I've just clicked on dentist, and then I'm getting some uh, results here. So there are few folks here I'm seeing, and I can see like how much experience. Oh wow, there is 52 years experience. Okay, 23 years experience, and there is like some kind of profile, right? So this some doctors are located, and uh, so this information I'm able to see it, right? So let's say like if I want to go ahead with this person, and then if I want to see his availability. So tomorrow there are some slots that are there where it says like he's available, and then Wednesday more slots are being opened. So whenever, let's say like I wish to go ahead and make an appointment with him, I can use this platform to block his calendar, and then probably I can see his consultation fee. Here it says some 500 rupees. So when he is available, all those information. Okay, and there are some testimonials. Some of his patients has given some recommendations, and some comments, and yeah, something on regarding this doctor. Okay, so let's say like if I want to go ahead and book it, I can click on some time, and then it will go ahead, and then I can provide my details and then get myself booked. Okay, so so this is one part. Okay, which is as an end user I can find a doctor, and then book uh, book an appointment with him. There is this video consult. So it's a kind of online consultation, right? So I need not go be physically present, but I can just get myself consulted. Let's say I'm having a migraine or something. I can just go ahead and then have a video consultation, and it says like starting at it's somewhere around 199. So this is another part of the same platform. Then there is medicines, which is a kind of e-commerce, right? Where they sell medicines and it gets delivered to your doorstep. It's a very similar to any e-commerce site like Amazon. Amazon sells anything and everything, but here it is only restricted to medicines. Okay, uh, and then there is this lab tests. So of course we can see after what happened in the last 2 years, um, we can get ourselves diagnosed in case if we have any any test if we need to do. Okay, and here it says like it starts from 500 onwards. So you somebody comes to your doorstep, take the samples, and then sends you report in a PDF format. Even I myself have availed this. Okay, so there is another part. So now here it is, the provider is could be some labs, right? It is not a doctor, but it's some. So they're finding more ways to uh, bring more uh, more value or adding value to this platform anyway. Okay, so this I can do it. So let's look at this specific analogy. Okay, let's come back to this. Okay, so it's a platform that connects a doctor and a patient, and here the user roles are distinctly it's the doctor and the patient. Okay, so let's look at a workflow that can be only associated with patient. Okay, so as a patient I can or a patient can book an appointment with his desired doctor, consultation which is video consultation that we have seen, can buy medicines, order something, okay, get it delivered, book tests, uh, what we have just seen, diagnostics, any tests that we have to do that can be done. And of course there is a profile manager, so a patient's history can be maintained, uh, maybe some medical related documents can be kept under the profile, that is possible. Okay, so these are the different workflow that a patient can do. Okay, similarly let's look at a workflow that can be only associated with doctors. Okay, so a patient only can send a request, right, for an appointment. Okay, so a doctor can approve it. Okay, so it's like uh, a patient sends a request and doctor approves it. Okay, so without having any request, a doctor cannot approve it. Okay, so this is one part. So a doctor can approve an appointment, or he can propose a reschedule. Maybe for some reason he's not available, right? uh, Proposing a reschedule of an already confirmed appointment, that is possible. A doctor can manage his time slots. See, this managing time slots is not even a use case for a patient, right? But it is a one important aspect from the doctor perspective. Okay, so managing his own time slots or his availability, and uh, this part, right? A doctor can have multiple patients, and he can manage patients, right? So he can uh, maybe let's say there is a regular visitor or somebody is uh, having certain medical condition that frequently he has to visit the doctor, right? Most likely he can manage their patients, and then uh, look through their details and something like this, right? Managing the patient. Okay. And of course there is a profile manager. Okay, so doctor can say like how much experience, that what we have just seen, right? What is his consultation fee, how much rating that he is having, testimonials, and various other things, right, under the profile manager. So now we can easily understand, right? So when we are approaching in understanding any application, the first thing is what we have to understand is to identify some of the critical transactions or some of the critical business workflows that are associated with that specific application. This is the first thing. Second thing is to identify the user roles that are involved. Okay, so I have taken this Practo as an example so that it is easy to follow, right? Here it is clearly, it is the doctor is one user role and the patient is the other user role. Okay, so once we identify the user roles, further we have to identify and explore on user role based workflows. Here we can see, we could notice, right, like there are certain actions only a patient can do, and then there are certain actions only a doctor can do, or let's call them, it's a use case. Okay, right. So once we identify the workflow, then next is to do the scripting and then proceed from there. But yes, so let's also look at this part, that is test data. Okay, so uh, s- test data, what is a test data? It's just a set of test data that is used to carry out performance activities. Okay, see, for example, if we are going for an execution for 500 users. Okay, so we should have a 500 unique username and password. This is the test data. Okay, usually this test data is supposed to be provided by a devs or a functional team or somebody else. Okay, but it is not the performance testers work to create this test data. Usually this is not in scope of our work. Okay, um, so in case if the business is asking you to create the test data, can can just directly tell that it is not in your scope. But it is no harm to help or to create, provided if we have the necessary ability to create this information. But manual, think about it, manual creation is a really hard thing. Okay, to do it. So if we have to create, so I have in the starting of this session I had created one test data, like creating a user in the application. Okay, think about it, if I have to sit and create for 500 users manually, could be really difficult. Okay, so yes, for example, user credentials, fine. Who all are the stakeholders? So who should provide the test data? Could be functional testers, could be developers, maybe if both are not there, it is the performance testers. Okay, at times there are like if, especially if we are working in a product based, or maybe it's a small team, right? Then usually we'll be asked us to create our own test data. Okay, in that case what we have to do, we have to identify like how the test data can be created in large scale. So when I say large scale, even 500 uh, distinct or unique uh, test data creation can is itself a large scale. Okay, so we have to identify the test data creation workflow. If this can be scripted, then the script can be run. Okay, and then the test data can be created. Okay, so first thing is we have to identify the test data creation workflow, then develop the script for the identify workflow, and yeah, achieving fully automated test data creation. This um, as a performance tester, we have to pick this activity only if this is possible. That is through the script. If this test data can be created, then we can pick it up. Else, devs or other maybe even database folks, even they can help in creating the test data. Okay, I think the next topic is correlation, so I'll stop it here. So do you have any questions so far? Okay, I take that as a no. So we will be starting on correlation from tomorrow. Okay, so I highly recommend for the next few sessions, please attend regularly. Okay, so uh, when we start with correlation, like next 2 3 sessions is really important, because correlation just amounts to 80% of the scripting progress, and 80% of the challenges or most of the challenges is just associated with the correlation. Okay, fine then. uh, so I'll see you tomorrow. Have a nice day. Thank you.
Thanks, Naveen. Thank you so much.